Welcome back, friend, to another episode of the Authentic Brand Builders podcast. Today we are talking about sales conversations. Now, I talk a lot about branding, obviously, marketing, content creation, all of those types of things, how you get your brand out into the world, how you share your authenticity, and ultimately attract the people who want to work with you. But there's this little bitty thing that we all have to do as business owners, and that is sell. And there are so many different ways to sell in your business. Maybe you've played with sales pages directly to checkout pages. Maybe you've played with ads. Maybe you're running freebies and selling in your email campaigns. Or maybe, just maybe, you're having actual sales conversations. Now, this most likely applies to you if you are selling a high ticket item, some sort of one-to-one, or, and here's the fun part, you're bringing back sales conversations in your brand as a way to build know, like, and trust. This is something I am doing here at Brand Mary. For years, I offered one-to-one conversations to work one-on-one with me, but I didn't really offer them in other capacities, group programs, my high-ticket membership. It was really just are you interested in buying? If you have questions, definitely reach out via email. But we are flipping the script a little bit here because the industry is changing and our consumers, our buyers, our lovely people in our community, hey, that's you for us here at Brand Mary, you are craving trust. You want to make sure this is right for you. You want to make sure that you're investing your money in an area that is actually going to move the needle forward. And sometimes that comes down to having an actual conversation with a human being. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. Maybe it's opening up your calendar, something I've started to do with small Q&A conversations for Authentic Brand Builders Academy. Maybe it is opening up your DMs. Maybe it is having video conversations. Whatever it looks like, you're having some sort of sales conversation. You're really wanting to make sure that they feel confident in this decision. That is why I invited my new friend and colleague, Leah, on the podcast today. Leah's journey from nursing to successful high-ticket sales coaching business with her husband, Todd, is super inspiring. In fact, I brought her on to talk to you about sales conversations and the strategies and the tips and the tricks that they use to do that in an authentic way, but her story blew me away. And so I know you're going to absolutely love that as a fellow authentic brand builder and want to hear more about her experience. Aside from her amazing story and hearing a little bit more about her and her husband's journey into the entrepreneur world and the crazy success that they have had, you are also going to walk away with some of the best sales tips ever. In fact, I was nerding out about our conversation today and I can't wait to get into it so you can take the little pieces that you need to completely elevate your business. Because the reality is we have to be focused on building trust with our audience. And yes, that comes from having a strong brand. And yes, that comes from having these storytelling elements, but it comes from authentically caring for the people who are looking to invest. And this conversation is going to give you some amazing tips to set you up for success. So let's get into today's episode.
This is the Authentic Brand Builders podcast with Michelle Knight.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I am so excited to get to meet you and to also hear a little bit more about your story.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate being on. I'm super excited to be here today.
As usual on the Authentic Brand Builders podcast, we are all about storytelling. And I think there's no better way than to start with your story and what's ultimately led you to where you are. So go for it.
Okay.
Tell us your story. Let us know.
Okay. I never thought I would end up here in a million years. If you would have told me this was a direction of our life, I would have thought you were smoking something funny because it didn't make any sense. I went to school to be a nurse. I went and got my bachelor's of science in nursing, went that route, did the whole thing. And Todd and I got married really young. I had just passed 19 when we got married. We were planning to have kids as soon as I finished college. And it didn't happen. And then it continued not to happen. And we ended up going through a lot of stuff trying to make that work. And finally, 10 years after we had gotten married, we finally adopted our first son. And that was a beautiful thing for us. And we've been praying and imagining this moment for so long. But at that time, we lived in rural Oklahoma. We were trying to do the homestead thing. And Todd was still traveling for work. And so he was flying out Sunday afternoons, flying back Thursday nights or Friday mornings. And I was a single mom most of the time. And that was absolutely not what we had been envisioning for the last 10 years. So it was really hard. And so we started looking for how do we bring him home? And he was making good money, and there wasn't anything locally that was an option for him. So we ended up, I think like a lot of people, we started dipping our toes into entrepreneurship through network marketing. It was our little like gateway drug that we needed to start opening our minds and start growing into that world. But we were looking just for a way to bring home money on our own, like bring home money online, something that we could do that could bring him home full time and we could really be together as a family. We kind of sucked at it, which was really disheartening because we were both like really successful professionals and consultants. And then we thought we could get this awesome, and we totally were not awesome at it at all. We ended up trying to figure out how to do it online because we stunk at offline. We found out about attraction marketing. We started to get involved with that online, started to learn about affiliate marketing. And with affiliate marketing, that's where things really took off for us. Both of us buckled down really hard because it was super painful. Like the situation that we were in was really kicking our butts and making us do all the things that we didn't want to do, but we knew we had to do to make this work. There were moments we got a course on like how to call your leads. I would like call Todd like shaking and crying at work because someone yelled at me again, or like it was bad. Yeah. But the pain was so big. The desire was there. We did it anyway. We figured it out. We got the help we needed. We ended up learning how to generate leads, how to set up funnels, copywriting, all of the really good, awesome internet marketing stuff. And we started making really good money with affiliate marketing. And then we had people saying, hey, how are you doing that? How are you generating these leads? Where are these leads coming from? And then we started teaching, coaching, and started selling our very first course on how to generate leads. And the first course was our Ultimate Tweet Leverage, which was a banger. Everyone loved it. It was awesome. But we had all these cool ways to generate leads off of Twitter at the time. And that's where everything opened up. So we really leaned into the skill set that we had built, and it went crazy. And that was our very first 7-figure year. Todd was able to retire from his first job, or from his full-time job. We are both full-time in the business. Our second son has never known what it's like to have parents working outside of the home.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we made the shift about 7-8 years ago, a while ago, to away from the network marketing space, because we had seen our heart wasn't there anymore. In the affiliate marketing space, it was really in helping people lean into their expertise. Because when we had finally done that, that's where the magic, where it all came together for us. And we were seeing that so many people were trying to sell other people's stuff and struggling so hard. When it's like, no, what are you already good at? Like, let's lean into that and build a business around that. And that's where we saw the magic for us, and then how we really have started to help, where we just pivoted and started helping others to lean into that expertise and build their own businesses around that expertise online.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing your story. I always say that this is me being selfish because I love hearing people's stories, and I'm always just like, oh my gosh, tell me more. Tell me all the things. What a journey you have had. And I see so much similarity and just like the desire to be home that I experienced in my own story, that I know so many of my clients experience as well. It's why they're doing. But I love that you shared how you did the network marketing and it didn't go well, and you did this and you did this and you found your thing. Because so many people just kind of expect to find their thing right when they get into it. And some people do, and that's absolutely amazing, but that isn't everyone's story. So I think it's really powerful to hear that from other people.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I know that what has led you to where you are today, right? Obviously, you already kind of shared it, is really teaching people how to own their expertise and then sell that expertise authentically. And I would love for you to share a little bit more, because I think some people, when they're starting out, they're like, what does that mean? My expertise? Like, what am I good at? Like, what are some of the clients you've worked with, and in terms of helping them identify I call it a superpower here at Brand Mary, but whatever you want to refer to it as.
And it varies widely. And that's the beautiful thing. There's so much diversity out there, and possible options when it comes to a successful business. We've had folks who were actually like trained as mindset coaches, who actually went in and leaned into like career coaching because people needed confidence and mindset fixes to be able to advance in their career. We've had folks, all kinds of things in fitness, health, weight loss, really taking, it usually starts with their own journey. They had some sort of transformation that they've created in their own lives, and then it leads them down the pathway to having this amazing expertise that they can help share with other people. A lot of business stuff, marketing, launching their own businesses, real estate investing. There's even Pinterest marketing and how to drive traffic. Like,
I love Pinterest.
Yeah, like it's so cool. And so many of them are like I'll be talking to someone like, wow, you did that? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, are you teaching that? And like, well, no. I'm like, you need to be teaching that because that is hot. Like that is something that is really valuable in the marketplace, and people would honestly desire and pay for help to get that sort of transformation.
And I love starting with your story, right? Like my whole premise with branding, the first thing that we do is like, what's your story? What are your strengths? What are you good at? What are people asking you questions about? And when you're thinking of starting a business or jumping into entrepreneurship, like you did, like I did, we're also like, how do we do it with the lowest, like, entry that I have to like pay up front? Like, how do I make the most money quickly? And really building a business around your expertise creates so much ROI on the back end, which is really beneficial. And I have a lot of amazing clients who they start with a product or they start with, something like that. And it's hard because it's so much upfront that can be really scary.
Yes.
So just reaffirming that, like, it's not the only way to start. You can start with your experience and your personal story.
Yeah. We dabbled in physical products once upon a time. It's so much more money, and this is just way easier.
Yes, you have to find the product that the thing that works for you, but I definitely am loving the personal branding, the expertise, and there really is no better time than like right now. And I've been in business for 9 years, and I feel like I've been saying that every year, but like it's even more so this year. So, one of the things that we had chatted about was, okay, so let's say you're building a business around your expertise. How do you get clients, and a lot of times I would imagine the clients that you're working with, they're doing a lot of one-to-one type of work. And so I'd love for you to share some of the strategies that you see working in terms of signing these one-to-one or high-level clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we work a lot in the high ticket space, whether it's one-to-one or group. A lot of people, when you're getting started, it makes sense to do one-to-one. That's how you really cut your teeth as a coach and get your systems and processes down on how you're delivering and working with your clients. And then once you've got that down, okay, now let's move it to a group program. Now we can kind of scale a little bit, that sort of thing. But either way, they're usually high ticket. And so getting those high ticket clients for a lot of folks can be daunting. It can be a little bit scary. The magic wand thing is like, I'm just going to set up a bunch of automations and then they're just going to sign up and it's going to be wonderful. Okay, that's a fallacy. Like that's not going to happen. And plus, even if it could, that would kind of suck because in reality, you're going to be working with these people. You're going to be working them one-on-one, or they're going to be in the dynamic of a group that you are working with. You got to make sure their attitude is right. You got to make sure there's someone that you can really help, especially if they're investing a lot of money. So you always want to do a sales call. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like to, it's something that you're going to have to grow through. Eventually, once your business is really rocking, you've got your systems and processes down, your traffic sources, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you could have someone else do your closing for you, but that's later on. You need to really do this. And for the most part, once you've invested in your skill of learning how to sell, how to do those sales calls, no one is typically going to be able to sell better than you, the expert. So even when you are looking to build your team, they're going to have a lower close rate than what you can because you are the expert and you're the brand.
Yeah. I love that you said that because I have this conversation with my clients a lot because I am also an advocate for discovery calls, consult calls, sales calls. They all share a similar name. in the beginning, especially
Yeah.
because you don't have the proof to sell for you,
Yeah.
you know, and you mentioned like once you start getting a lot of traction and these things are working, you know, maybe you can switch gears and do this or even move to an application. But I think it also depends on the industry as well, because we're seeing a shift now where I actually think going back to one-to-one calls, a lot of people I think got away from it. 2020, 2021, when selling was like so freaking easy. It's just like raining money. I switched to application based and that was working really well. And then until it wasn't working, until the wrong people, right?
Yep.
Or people were just needing that extra authentic touch, that conversation with you, that you really, like you said, you can't really duplicate that no matter how hard you try. So I'm glad that you mentioned that and stressed the importance of that in the beginning, even if you don't like it.
Yeah, it's super important. And I think I was a nurse. I had no training in sales or marketing or anything else, but it's something that I knew that if I wanted our goal, which was to bring Todd home to replace his 6-figure job, like I had to figure it out. Like it just, I could grit my teeth and I can go throw up afterwards, but I got to figure it out.
Yeah. None of us really like that process.
But once you grow through that process and you do get really good at it, you can start to really enjoy it. And it can be an enjoyable thing. My little prayer before every sales call is, Lord, let this be fun. Let us have a fun conversation and let me truly help them. And if they're going to be a great client and get great results, have them join, but that's up to you. I'm going to show up. I'm going to serve them. I'm going to have some fun. And I just, and that's how I position myself and get my heart in the right place for my sales calls.
I love that mindset shift in the beginning. Yeah. So I'd love to kind of piggyback off of that, because a lot of people get really nervous about having these sales calls, right? This person I'm getting on the phone with a stranger. What kind of prerequisite things do you recommend having before actually hopping on the phone with someone?
Well, it depends on where you are in your business. Okay. So if you're just getting started, you want to get them on the phone as quickly as you can, because you need to learn about the target audience that you're seeking to serve and even what language they're using. So I'm okay at copy. Copy's not my jam. I'm okay at it, but my husband is awesome at copy. The most amazing copywriting in our business comes from when the two of us get together, because I'm the one talking to our target audience day in and day out, and I'm telling him the exact words that they are using when they're talking about their challenges or their goals or what they're struggling with, and then he can massage that into the most powerful copy that moves people. So having conversations, whether or not you end up selling, is invaluable when you're at the beginning of your journey. It's so important, because it's going to shape how you position yourself, how you brand, your copy, everything else. You're going to be able to do it better the more conversations that you have.
Yeah. And I love that too, from a market research angle. Like what you're talking about essentially is that, like, no matter what, that conversation is a win. Yeah. Like even if that person maybe isn't the right fit for your program, you at least have a lot of information that you can use for copy or, your sales page, your content marketing, that's going to help you sell in the long run.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So at the beginning, we would do, we had a Facebook group that we were building, and I would do lives in there, and I would do a contest to really boost the engagement on the lives and get people to talk, right? But I'd say, okay, so I'm going to give a free coaching session away on this live to whoever comments the most. Ready, set, go. And so I'd have them like going crazy on the live. And then it was just a 20-minute call, and I wasn't going to pitch them. Now, did people end up signing up for sales calls afterwards? Yeah, because they kind of liked what they heard. But even just that call was so valuable to me, because they're just pouring out. Their guard is down. They're here to learn. They want coaching. So they're going to open up the wounds, right? Tell me everything that's going wrong so I can help them. And just if you did that like one little thing, you're going to be so much better prepared for everything else that comes after.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This reminds me. It's so funny that you said that, because I started my business back in 2016, and it was right when Facebook Live was a thing. Yep. Like it just started happening. And I also had a Facebook group, and I would do these monthly challenges, and the winner of the challenge would get a 20-minute call, and they always ended up signing on with me because of how valuable that call ultimately was. And so a lot of people think like, well, I don't have time to give these free calls, or why would I give free calls? I want to make money. But it's like, I've always discovered that like when you give, you get.
Yeah.
And so if you are of service, someone's going to love that and trust your brand and want to ultimately continue working with you. They're obviously already an ideal customer. They're taking part in this activity. Right.
No, absolutely. And I mean, our process now is very different than it was back then.
Of course.
Right? Like at this point, yes, when people, they end up either finding us through our content, filling out an application, they meet with an appointment setter, do a discovery call, make sure they're qualified. Then they go through prep information. They have to. I do not take the sales call if they haven't completed the required information, and then we do the actual call. So at this point, we have a lot built in. It's all got beautiful copy that really moves them because we've had all of those conversations ahead of time, that we were able to really craft a beautiful message to serve our people. But you don't have to start there. Like, just start talking to folks, period. And then
I love what you said, like just have a conversation and make it easy to have the conversation.
Exactly. Have the conversations and then start building in some of those more things over time. Like, yes, have the questionnaire up front so you can get some more information. Yes, create a VSL or some more information that they should be going through before the actual sales call. Yes, build all those things out. It's wonderful. But just focus on talking to people at the beginning.
I love that. And yeah, one of the things that I did and a lot of my clients do is just a very simple form, right? When they're booking the call, if you don't have, it's a way to pre-qualify, for them to be like, ooh, I'm not quite ready for this, especially a conversation on or a question regarding investment. Exactly. Like, are they ready to make an investment? Because a lot of people, they're like, I don't really want to get on the phone with someone who's not quite ready. And there is a stage for that. And that's one of the ways that you can do that. But in the beginning, it really is about just like soaking up as much knowledge. It's going to just ripple into everything that you do and make you money, which is great.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So, I kind of mentioned that I'm seeing a shift, especially with a lot of my friends who have been in the space a long time, going back to having these discovery calls. I recently even did some for my high-level membership. I offered calls, and it was fantastic. I haven't done that in a long time, just short 20-minute calls. It was kind of fun for me. I was like, wow, I haven't done this in a while. Let's have fun with it. But what are you seeing really working, I guess, in today's digital landscape when it comes to signing these high ticket clients?
Yeah, absolutely calls. I know there are people that are saying they're doing other stuff. That's the unicorn. That's not the bread and butter, like how to get this done. Okay. So start with something that is easier to do, that you can handle, and then you can tweak and play with some of those other strategies maybe later. But let's start closing some sales first. Like, get that in. So what we've seen a shift over the years from even the entry point into getting the sales calls. Previously, I feel like there was, it was a different space. 3+ years ago, you could run a Facebook ad to a VSL to book a call, and they'd show up and then they'd buy. Like, it was a different, like the audience, the customer base wasn't as like cautious as they are now. Nowadays, they are more cautious.
Yes.
So yes, we still will use paid ads, but now we're just doing lead gen ads. And we're just getting into the top of the funnel. And the rest of the pieces of the funnel are what are selling them into having the sales call. Right? So we are definitely seeing a shift there. And a better nurture process seems to be needed now than it once was. When it comes to, I think everything just, 5-10 years ago, all of this was brand new. So you could be kind of bad at it and still do really well.
Yeah, exactly.
The longer things are around, the better you have to get at it, right? The better the marketing is, the more competition, all this kind of stuff. So it starts to become really important that you get your messaging down, that you have a unique take on things, and that you have, especially in the age of AI, that you've got a personal brand around this that can really connect authentically with people, because people don't ever, like, people talk about making courses out of AI that did it for them. Like, how would you feel if you bought a course and it was just a chat GPT prompt that gave you,
Right.
like, golden rule, people, right? So people want to connect with human beings that feel like that will actually take care of them, that have their best, have their best at heart, like all of these things. And so I feel like the nurture process is more and more important today than it was a few years back.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. And I think we actually talked about this on an episode early this year where I said the sales process is changing. Yeah. People do require more trust building, more hand holding, and we've always taken that approach here at Brand Mary. So it hasn't been a complete up level, but like also reminding my clients that like your marketing, the content that you're putting out there can lead people to the sale. Mm-hmm. And that's a really great way to take care of our audience, because we also simultaneously, while I feel like the industry was saying, hey, we need more touch points, we need more trust building, we need more authenticity, we also had this other flip side that was like, stop teaching in your content, stop educating in your content. And you're like, no, that's the opposite way. Mm-hmm. Not all of your content needs to be that, but yes, you do need to understand the client buying journey. Yes. And that someone might discover you and really need some nurturing to convert easily, right? Like the conversion can be easy when you take those steps up front.
And while the nurture steps, I feel like need to be more, the overall duration of doesn't need to be that long. Like we can still go from introduction to a high ticket close in 48 hours. But there's a lot of consuming of content and there's a lot of different things in between. And they just really need to feel like they know, like, and trust you more so today than they did years ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Ooh, love it. You obviously, we're talking about sales calls here. That's the priority. My audience, the people that I've worked with over the years, it makes the butterflies in their tummy, just like the confidence goes out the window. Do you have any, aside from the one that you shared before, do you have any little tricks that you use even with your clients to boost their confidence and make them feel like the authority that they are?
Yes. I think so. When I was first taught, it was the term posture was used. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had a unique experience where I was taught sales from men. And over the years, I've really learned that there's definitely different styles. And I appreciate a more feminine approach to sales these days. And so now I would say leadership. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was taught on posture, but now I would say, no, it's leadership in the call. That's what we need to have to effectively sell. And how I started to understand this is when I recognized that this was my nurse voice. So back in the day, I worked with patients who had open heart surgery. They'd had heart attacks or whatever. They were off the ICU and now they were in the recovery kind of for a few days before we had to teach them things like, okay, you got to quit smoking, you got to eat better, you got to da-da-da-da, right? Before they could be sent home. And so this was my nurse voice. Like, you need to quit smoking or you're going to die or be back here in the next month. Like, you just have to. Mm-hmm. And I started to understand I was leading those patients, and it may have been a little bit of tough love, but it was love. And I was helping them and I was leading them. And when I started to understand that was posture, that was leading in a sales call as well. That it wasn't my default when we started was like my grandma voice. Do you guys ever have the voice when you talk to your grandma? Hi, Grandma, how's it going? And so that was my natural, like, get all sing-songy, up, high-pitched. That's not leading. That's not going to work well. So learning to bring it down, have just that leadership voice. And I've worked with clients who are like, oh, that's my principal voice because they were a principal.
Oh,
that's my teacher
got
voice,
it.
I'm a teacher. That's my mom voice.
My mom voice. I feel like mine's my mom voice for sure.
Yes. And so being able to number one, you have to know your space well, like clearly. You need to be good at what you do so that you can have that internal confidence, but you need to practice. And I feel one of the most helpful things when it comes to having confidence and being able to practice and do sales calls is knowing how to generate leads. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know how to generate leads and you generate a handful a week and that's it, or a month, you're trying to like squeeze water out of a rock and you're trying so hard and you're like, I have to sell to this person. Mm-hmm. Versus if you know, hey, every day I have 5 to 10 new leads, I've got new people that I'm being introduced to every single day. If I screw this up, totally fine. I've got 5 to 10 new people to work with tomorrow.
Yeah. It's having that system that like builds the trust and the confidence and that removing you from the I can't think of the word off the top of my head, desperation, right? You're rather than acting from a place of desperation, you get to act from a place of inspiration and fun, and it just changes the whole dynamic of the call itself. Okay, yeah, I really love that. I love what you shared about leadership and obviously the feminine masculine selling. Yes, I've been doing this for 9 years. I've been on many a call where I was like, this is not my style. Please, I want to run. I want to get off the phone. And one of the things that's really helped me that I think, is so crucial. You talked about branding already and having that personal brand is like knowing who you are and knowing your voice and not feeling like you have to be a different person on these calls because they're wanting to know who you are. They've already stalked your Instagram, I promise. They've already listened to a podcast or read your blog. They've already liked your vibe. They're just wanting to take that next step. And that's what I found these calls really are about. It's not because all the information is there. It's on a sales page. It's wherever they want to find it. They're just wanting that next step to be like, can I trust this human being?
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And that's really all you have to do is support them and be of service on the call itself.
Yep. 100%. I think that one of the biggest things that I even like with my sales team with internally, every day we do call reviews and I train and teach every single day with my own sales team, helping them to hone their skills. And even if they're not in a position where they're actually closing the deal, we're all selling, right? We're all selling and we're leading in our conversations to the next step. And hyperactive listening is the key to being a good salesperson. It is just like sometimes, so we live in Florida. I've got a slider in the room, my office. So out to the lanai, so a typical Florida house. And sometimes my kids will be like holding up signs or like whatever. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm on a sales call.
Try to listen.
It is the most intense because I'm listening for what they're saying. I'm listening to what they're not saying. I'm watching what their body language is doing. I'm really trying to get in their heads. I want to understand what they're feeling, what they're seeking. And sometimes they're going to tell me that verbally. Other times it's going to be, I'm going to have to just pick it up with my gut. And the more you do this, the more you practice, the easier it gets. But just putting yourself in their place. What are they looking for? What problems have they identified? Solve the problem for them. Don't focus on all of the things that your program does or your offer does. It's just overwhelming. What is the problem they've identified? And focus on helping them see how you can solve that problem.
Yes. Oh, I love that. One of the things that I love to do in my content and back when I did calls and getting back into calls is also to look for like the obstacles that are standing in their way that they can't see. And it reminds me kind of what you said about your nurse voice and like giving that tough love in a way, but also just opening their mind and creating an awareness around the things that are keeping them from where they ultimately want to go. Because that's all it is, right? I'm here. I want to go here. How do I go there?
Yes, because
there's this problem.
Yeah, they don't understand all of the steps in between, right? And so that's why I know on my calls, there's that element of kind of coaching a little bit mixed into the call because they're identifying this problem and they're like, okay, you've got this glaring problem here. Like in order to get this, did you know that XYZ is connected to this?
And they're like, no, I didn't, right? I had no idea. Because they really don't sometimes. Like we think that everyone knows this information.
Right.
But they don't. That's why they're here. That's why they're seeking your expertise.
Yep, 100%. And I think the ability to, coming from a place of service, like I mentioned at the beginning, when I go into a sales call, I want it to be helpful. I want to help them in the call. Whether or not we end up working together, they should have some golden nuggets that came from that call that it will help them in their business moving forward. And so that's always, again, coming from a place of service and wanting to help people is pivotal to being able not to be pushy and salesy and weird, but to actually effectively sell and just to help people when it's not a good fit or when timing isn't right or, the budget isn't there, whatever the case may be.
And also trusting, there's so much trust we talked about in the beginning too, but trusting that because you were of service, even if it's not the right time for that individual, when it is the right time, where are they going? They're coming right back. That has been the truth for me so often. And I think that kind of leads me to what kind of the last question I had for you is, how do you handle someone who says on a call, I'm not quite ready, or I'm really nervous, or I need to do that, or comes back with a bunch of questions because they're feeling uncertain? Like, how do you handle that in a very compassionate way? Because I think that's the feminine energy that you were talking about before, rather than being like, make a decision right now or we're done.
Well, and it's really an understanding what they need at that point. And this comes a lot from practice, right? There are some people that are thinkers. They are contemplators. They are the analytical type people. And they're usually, and oftentimes on the calls, they're kind of a little more subdued. They're asking really good questions from a technical perspective. Those people oftentimes will never make a decision on a call. And if you push them to make a decision on a call, it's a no. It's very off-putting to them. It is not a good fit. So part of what I do and what I teach is, as you're going through this process, and most of the call is just asking questions, the discovery call process. During that, you're assessing, what kind of person are they? How do they make decisions? What's going on with them? Because if I pick up, hey, like I had someone this week, would be a great fit for our program. He's really interested, but he is definitely an analytical, like numbers thinker type person. And we're doing a 2 call for him. So yes, he had a discovery call and then went to a sales call. But on that sales call, I went through a whole bunch of information and I was like, okay, we've covered a ton. I want to give you time to process this. Okay. So why don't we give you a day or two to digest everything that we've covered? And then we can get back on and we can finish up. And when we get back on, I'm going to do a visual walkthrough of everything. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and then we can finish the conversation. But I want to make sure that you have time to really go through your process.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. It's like, I feel like people get really set in this idea that like, well, I have to do my calls this way, or every call has to be this exact way. When really, like you said, it's about listening, and it's about really paying attention to that individual, and how can you tailor the call and tailor even the follow-up to that individual, because you're going to have a higher close rate, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. And, I'd say probably 80-20. 80% of my calls are going to be in one call. Maybe 20% I'm going to split into a 2 call. I try not to, in the 2 call, I'm not going to talk investment until the second call. And I'll tell them, that's for their benefit, because I'm going to save the discount. When we talk specific prices, I can give a big discount the first time, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to protect that for them, handle that in the second call. But I mean, understanding and what is their hesitation? Is it nerves? Is it normal nerves? I want my people to have some nerves, because that means it's important. If it's not important, then they're not going to do it. They're not going to be a good client. This isn't going to mean anything, right? I want them to have some nerves, and helping them just understand, what are they feeling? What are they saying? What are they feeling? And what's really going on in their head? Because we have this thing, and it's a weird societal thing, that we don't necessarily say what we're feeling. We're kind of guarding it, or we're kind of positioning it a little bit different. And then the other person you're talking to knows that you're not telling the truth, or knows, but and you know that they know that but we're all not going to say it, and we're going to pretend that this is normal. And so part of leadership in sales is to cut through that stuff and really call everything as it is, right? Like, okay, I sense it. Like, I'll have some folks that I'm just getting some hesitancy cues. Like, I haven't even done the price drop or the pitch yet, but I'm getting some like hedging, or like some like hesitant. So, okay, so I'm sensing that there might be something going on here. Tell me, it sounds like timing, you're stressed. How was your time situation? Or like, I'm trying to get to the actual issue, and kind of cut through the normal positioning and posturing that happens, just we're like programmed societal wise to do.
Yeah. And again, like you said before, it comes from listening, like very intently listening. And the more that you do it, the more you can pick up on those cues.
Yes, 100%.
I love when people come on here and they make it simple for everybody. So thank you for doing that, because it really does get to be simple. I'm a firm believer that running a business and doing all the things, it can feel so complex with all the funnels and the platforms, but the strategy, the execution, it gets to be very simple. And you shared just so many great takeaways. I love it so much. And I know so many of my listeners are going to want to follow you and absorb more information from you. So can you share a little bit more about the platforms you're hanging out on? I know you have a podcast as well.
Yes. For all of y'all podcast listeners, clearly you listen to podcasts. So you'll definitely want to check out Digital Trailblazer podcast. This is where myself and my husband come together. And we have a lot of fun. We're looking at the hottest strategies and trends and everything that are going on in the online marketing space. We'll often have people on who are just crushing it. And then we kind of funnel hack them live and they give away all of their good stuff.
Love it.
So it's awesome. So you definitely want to check out the Digital Trailblazer podcast. It's everywhere. So anywhere you're listening to a podcast, we'll be there. We've got a ton of great resources, great freebies. We've got our Facebook group, all that kind of stuff. But you can find all of that at digitaltrailblazer.com.
Love it. Yes, I'm all about sending traffic to the website. Get what you need, find what you need there, but definitely go ahead and check out y'all's podcast. I'm so excited. We will link everything in our show notes, YouTube, the blog. My listeners know we're multi-channel over here. We're pushing the content out everywhere we can. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you and to just, these were such great reminders, even for me as someone who is getting back into the discovery call period of life, because that is what I really believe the industry is calling for now. But for so many of my listeners who are just getting started and are starting with one-on-one or high ticket, this was a masterclass, and I appreciate you sharing all of that wealth of knowledge with us.
You are so very welcome. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it.